Hi, welcome to another Canto Roboflow training movie. In this training movie, I'm going to create a workflow from scratch. The purpose is that we have incoming images, we want to catalog them, and when they are cataloged, we want to assign a category based on their file name. I have a couple of images here which start with blue, green, red, and nothing special. So what I want to do is I have a hot folder workflow, which is a type of workflow that processes files that are being dropped in a folder. And this workflow will catalog the files and will automatically, once cataloged, will assign a category. So I've already prepared two extra parameters, a target folder, because once a hot folder automatically deletes the file when it's done processing it. So either you need to work with a central asset location so that the file is moved by the cataloging process into a vault, for instance, or a central asset location, or you need the workflow first to copy it to its final location and then catalog the file from there. That's what we're going to do in this example. And then I added another parameter called category map, in which I am defining two columns. The first column is a regular expression. A regular expression is an evaluation of a text. And this regular expression says anything that starts with red and then any character behind that. The dot means any character and the asterisk means any number of times. So any files that start with red, any files that start with blue, any files that start with green. And then the last one is anything. So we will run through this in the workflow, and if nothing is applied, then at least this last one will be applied. And here I've specified the category path I want to assign. The category will also automatically be created if it does not exist. So what we can do is I can now start building my workflow. So the first thing is that when you work with a target folder, this is just a path, this is just plain text. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that this object is available, that the folder exists, before copying any file to it. So I could hard-code it, specify the file path in here, but I try to avoid adding anything in a script that could change in the future. So I'm actually picking it up from the other place, from the global parameters where I already created it. I cannot select it, I have to type it in, but I select something else so I don't have to type the tag instruction. So tag is just looking into the internal parameters for anything that is called target folder, and since we created here a variable called target folder, it finds this content. Usually you would specify the complete path here. I replaced it by application folder, which is a placeholder for the place where Roboflow is installed. This is just to make my workflow a little bit generic and can be reused in many places this way, just for demo purposes. Then when I have created this path, make sure that you always give a little bit of comment and information. So I'm saying target folder, give it a name, and then I can say here target folder, which is just comment but makes my script so much easier to read when I come back to it in 6 months time. And then I'm saying create the folder if it doesn't exist, and if it does exist, it will just store the object in the workflow. Now I'm going to say new instruction, and I'm going to copy the file to it. So I'm going to do a file folder action. I'm going to copy the file. Which file? Well, the hot file, the a hot folder workflow offers each file that is found in the drop folder to the workflow under the tag hot. So that's why it appears. And then which folder? Well, we just created the object target folder. We could change the file name if we want. We're not going to do that. At this point, we're just going to copy the file. And we can call it the copied file or the target file or whatever. And here we go. So now we need to open the catalog. And opening the catalog means that we're looking for a Cumulus catalog instruction, and we can open the catalog. I can select here the catalog. Let's say we're using, for instance, the sample catalog, and that would work fine. But as I mentioned before, I don't like that kind of thing to be inside my workflow, but of course it could change. So I prefer to go here and say I'm going to create a variable called Cumulus catalog. I could just say OK and then I type in the file name, but there are a lot of selectors you can add. So it will not just be a plain text you will have to type in, but you will have the ability to select. So you can look here in the help for the one you like to create, the type of variable you like to create. And then what happens is that now I have that drop down here. I don't have to type it in. I copy this name, because what I am going to do now is here, I don't want this like this. So I'm going to type in like this and then paste in the value. And that gives me automatically my Cumulus catalog. Whenever I add an open catalog, I want to make sure that I also add a close catalog. Very important, never forget, or you will run out of resources after a while. So I'm closing the catalog. What I'm going to do now is I have to read this parameter file. So first I have to tell Roboflow that I have a file I want to read. So I'm copying this name again, same principle, and I'm saying, okay, let's do this maybe a little bit higher up the tree. And I can say conditional, no, I want to do a file folder thing. And the file folder thing is I want to store a path, the thing you typed in the parameters. I want to use that to get to, to get to that particular file. I say create if not exist. It does exist, but it doesn't matter. And I just give it a name, my catmap file, just like that. And don't forget to add a little bit of comment to those instructions that need a little bit of comment. So this way, whenever I come back to the script, I can see, oh, here I'm assigning that variable to a file. And now I can read that file. I can say, okay, this, sorry, I need to go to file folder. And here I need to store a text file as a table. I'm going to read that table that we created. So the catmap file, and it's a tab limited text that we created. It's sorted. We want to make sure that we keep the sort order, because remember the last item in the line was here we have the cat table. The last item in the line was the default category we were going to assign if the file name was not in compliant with any of the other regular expressions. By the way, if you need more information about regular expressions, there's a very good website, this website, where you can find very extensive examples of how detailed you can perform a regular expression and filter out, identify the file you really want to process. Here, let's continue here. I just have now a table, like an Excel style table with rows and columns, And now I'm going to here say new, and I'm going to process that table. Here we go, and process columns. No, I'm processing the rows from the table, and processing the rows on the table, process all, it was sorted, and I'm going to call that my category row that I want to process. Good. Now, before I can start processing that, I first need a record. So I'm going to catalog the file. Catalog the file means that I'm looking for a Cumulus catalog instruction, and here somewhere we will find catalog file. So just like that. Which file? Careful, take the copied file and not the hot file, because the hot file will disappear. It's in the drop folder. I'm selecting, and then here I don't like these type of things to be in my script. As I said, they're very hard to remember or to find back, but we have this parameter in the global parameters, so you can pick it up, the permission template and the asset handling set, from the global parameters. I will show you in a second. Here we go. So if I save all this, and it's a good idea from time to time to save, you're working in a website, so a website could lose connection. Here you can define your permission template and your asset handling set, and let me put here standard. You can select it, of course, but I know standard exists and has the proper parameters. So this is very important that you set this up front, and if it has to be different than the global one, maybe you have multiple workflows and you have different asset handling sets to use, just add an entry here that has the same name, and then it will overwrite and use the one you specified, because it first reads, when the workflow starts, the global settings, puts them in memory, then it reads the parameters, puts them in memory, it starts the processing, and all that is available for each file being processed then for this action script. So I've cataloged the file and I have a record. Good. Now I need to pick up the file name because I'm going to, or the asset name, whichever you prefer. So you can say, I want to do something with the Cumulus record. I want to store. Store always means put it in the memory of Roboflow. So I want to store from the record a field value as a text. So I can evaluate later that text. So which record, which field? Well, I'm going to take the record name. As I said, you can go and select it. And then I call this rec name. Good. So, okay, here always very important, give a little bit of explanation so it makes your script so much easier to read. Because then you can just read all this. Okay, now I have my record, and now I'm going to do process all the rows. That means that for each row, I now get an individual value. So what I want to do now is I want to get to the regular expression. I want to get the elements, the columns of that row from my parameter table. So here we go. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to test a text. Now I could first store the variables from the table by saying get me column 1, get me column 2, put them in a variable, but I'll show you there is a much directer way to access them if you are using Cumulus 10. In Cumulus 9 you have to first use a different action, and maybe it's a good idea that I show that too, so you have both examples. I want to process the record name, and I want to test equals. No, I want a regular expression test. So normally I can just do like this. I'm picking up, it won't show up because the result of this row thing, cat row, is an array. But in since Cumulus 10, you can talk to cat rows just like this. You can say cat row and then get column 1. So this is one way of getting the value of that particular row. Another way is, and I'll show you in a second, but I'll first do this, test if name is evaluated true. Like this. If you give your variable names understandable names, readable names, then it's much easier for your script to read. And so you can make your screen a little bit bigger like this. And now if it evaluates true, super, that means that I found the value I want to assign. So let me show you how you pick up a value from a table row. If you don't, if you have a Cumulus 9 version, you will have to do it this way. So I can say that I want to store a table row element as text, an element being the column. So I can say which table row, and it knows this is no. Still table row element as text. No, this is a search. This is the lookup. This is not the instruction I need. This looks up the row and then stores the value, but that's not what I want to do. I want to store a column. That's the one I want. I'm very sorry. So that's the instruction I need. And now it sees the row, the array, with all the columns, and I can say I need column number 2. And you could put a default value if column number 2 would not exist, but we created that table so we know it exists. So we can set, this is the cat, the category we want to set. So I'm saying that here cat equals cat row 2. So that's exactly the same way of addressing that. We can cut this instruction out, and now we have the value. As I said, you could do it inline, but we're doing it now a little bit differently because this way it is working for Cumulus 9 and 10. So here I say text, I want to go to Cumulus record, and I'm going to assign a category. You don't have to create the category. You could first say store create category from path. That's a possibility, and then assign the category to the record. But there's a more direct way of doing that. You can just say Cumulus record, apply permission template is not the one. I want to set a record field value, text value. Here we go. And I can say record categories, and here we go, categories, and after categories we are setting. So here in Cumulus 9 we would do it like this. In Cumulus 10 you could just say that, and you don't need that other instruction in front. But let's do both scenarios a little bit mixed up so you know what you're doing. So here I can give a little bit of explanation like that. Good, so now I'm assigning. But careful, this goes through all the lines. So if the last line says any character, it would assign for any category also that default category. We don't want that. What we want is we want to stop processing. So there is an instruction called exit current loop. So as soon as it has found a good category that is assigned, we just say stop this loop, and so this loop is then terminated. Good. We've created our workflow, so let's see if we didn't make any mistakes. we can have a look in our drop folder.